Well, good morning, everyone. Nice to see you after 2 weeks. We've had a lot of rain, haven't we? We are people here at Unity who value and believe in unity, obviously. We are spiritual people who want inner and outer peace and freedom. As such, it behooves us to understand the spiritual ideas that motivate billions of people on this planet. We in the West are going through a brief secular stage. Some people are. These things wane and rise in history. I personally think religion is waning a little bit, traditional religion in the West, because there's been a rejection of fundamental religion and a birth of more real spiritual values. But in most cultures, people's religion is still foremost in their lives, and we really cannot understand these people and feel a unity with them without understanding their religion, because that is what really motivates them. These children of God are our brothers and our sisters, and often our fellow Americans. They're certainly people we deal with in this global village of ours that is getting even smaller every day. That is one reason we've been looking at ancient teachings for a modern world this summer. The other reason is because there are some beautiful aspects of these spiritual ideas that can help us a lot. The essential points, the eternal wisdom, really, of these spiritual paths are a part of the unity teachings. No religion has a monopoly on truth. But even though we understand many of these teachings here at Unity especially, looking at them can remind us and can highlight helpful ideas and tools for our spiritual growth too. They're all the same ideas in all these religions, including the Judeo-Christian Old and New Testament, but they're put in different words and in different forms so that when we look at them from these different points of view, often it helps us understand our own spiritual path better. I know I've shared with you before, and I'll share it again. I did not understand Christianity at all until I studied Buddhism. We all know the importance of compassion, love, peace, morality, forgiveness, and meditation, for example. But to review these concepts and from another point of view can be very motivating, and it can give us more tools, too, for our own spiritual toolbox. There is a lot of spiritual misinformation out there that can cause mistrust and even fear on all sides, and that is unhealthy for all concerned and certainly doesn't create unity in our world. When there's mistrust and fear, there is often hatred, and that is unhealthy for us as individuals and as a society. Karl Marx once said in the Communist Manifesto, "Workers of the world, unite." We as spiritual people must say, spiritual pilgrims of the world, unite. That means that we must all join together and work to dispel all of this misinformation and prejudice that's out there on all sides. And it isn't just us, it's everyone. We must educate so that we can see that all true spiritual teachings advocate the same thing: peace, brotherly and sisterly love, helping those in need, and basic morality. Today, we're going to look at Confucianism and Taoism. Pretty non-controversial, actually. We're looking at these two together because those two together with a little sprinkling of Buddhism became one total influence in China, Korea, and Japan. They've influenced those three cultures and many other cultures in the Far East for over 2,500 years. The religious political and social impact of Taoism and Confucianism in the Far East has been vast, and we cannot understand those people until we understand what motivates them. In a nutshell, and for the purpose of clarity, and it's hard to put things in a nutshell when you're dealing with another religion, but Confucianism is about how to structure and live in outer society. It's very practical. Taoism is about developing your true inner essence. Taoism is a lot more mystical. So you've got the mystical and you've got the societal structure. Confucianism makes me think of the many laws of the Old Testament that gave us a framework in which society and the individual can thrive. Taoism reminds me, on the other hand, of the gentle Jesus of the New Testament, telling us to turn the other cheek and to forgive and to love our neighbors as ourselves. But it's Taoism and Confucianism combined with that little sprinkle of Buddhism, which we'll talk about next week, that have shaped the lives and made up the very weave of the fabric of China, Japan, and Korea, just as it's the Judeo-Christian Old and New Testaments combined, which has shaped the history of the West. The Confucians emphasize morality and being a noble person of honor. The Taoists concentrate on inner peace, gentleness, and a respect for nature and the oneness of all life. Flowing with the Tao. Maybe you've heard the expression, flowing with the Tao. Tao means God or the way. You flow with God, you flow with the way, you flow with the eternal wisdom of the universe. So what is Taoism? What is Confucianism? I suspect that most Americans, anyway, ideas of Confucianism are derived from some of those little fortune cookies that we all get, those little notes inside. For example, Confucius say, man who run in front of bus get tired. Man who run behind bus get exhausted. He who laughs last did not get joke. Give a man a fish, feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish, man build industry and destroy ecosystem. I want to die peacefully in my sleep like my grandfather, not screaming and yelling like the other passengers who were in his car. Confucius say, keep your words soft and sweet in case you must eat them. Man who wants pretty nurse must be patient. If at first you don't succeed, do it like your wife told you. Only half of you laughed at that one. I noticed those things. Man who sit on tack gets point. Cross-eyed teacher cannot control pupils. Confucius probably didn't say any of those things, of course. Confucius was not interested in cracking jokes or amusing people. He wanted to contribute to people's happiness. And he felt that he could do that best if he helped people understand that they would be happy if they ran society in a sane and moral way. He believed that morality and government were so closely related that it was scarcely possible to think about them separately. Confucius felt that the best way to create that society of moral good people was, one, for the leader to model that behavior, and two, through education, education, education. Confucius likened the ruler to the wind and the people to the grass. And whatever way the wind blows, the grass always bends. Confucius said, if a ruler sets himself right, he will be followed without his command. If he does not set himself right, even his commands will not be obeyed. For example, one time when Confucius was traveling, he noticed that a population in a particular city had grown very dense. The town's chief administrator asked him, "What should be done? What should we do about this?" Confucius replied, "Enrich them." Then the leader asked, "What should be done next?" Confucius answered, "Educate them." That's why we're studying world religions here this month. We need to understand other people if we're going to be able to live together in a peaceful global society. We need to understand other people if we're going to live individually as peaceful people, because often we're very stressed out about other people. There are worlds and worlds of misinformation out there, and this is dangerous. Misunderstandings often create dislike and prejudice. This hatred and fear creates stress and inner turmoil, which is bad for our physical and our spiritual health, and it's bad for society. Confucius understood that we're all in this thing together, and that a united society will thrive and the people will be happy. Divided and chaotic society will fall, and everyone will suffer, as has been the case after every war. Of course, now we're a global society, so it's even more important to think about these things. Confucius understood the need for morality and moral laws and caring for those in need. In 500 BC, in the very advanced Chinese civilization, he knew that it was the key to peace and happiness, following certain eternal laws and being sure that everyone was helped. Confucius was the man upon whose ideas Confucianism is based. In other words, Confucianism, unlike Hinduism that just sort of morphed out of a lot of different religions and ideas, Confucianism was started by a particular man, Confucius. He believed that an orderly society which looks out for its people was not only essential, but was absolutely possible. His book, The Analects, delineates how a person fits exactly into society, how one can best live in that society day by day, and how one might best contribute to that society. Just as an example, Confucius spelled out the 5 great relationships. This is just an example. There is the parent-child relationship, the sibling relationship, the spousal relationship, the social or friend or sibling relationship, and the employee-employer relationship, or ruler and subject relationship, whichever is the case. In the parent-child relationship, children must respect and honor their parents. In the sibling relationship, the younger sibling must respect and honor the older one. In the spousal relationship, wives must honor their husbands. Now, this is 2,500 years ago. Socially, younger people must respect older people. And at work or in the kingdom, employees must respect their employers, and the people must honor and respect their ruler. Concomitantly, the parents, older siblings, friends, husbands, and rulers must be honorable, capable, and educated so that they can properly earn the respect of their children, siblings, wives, and subjects. They must be wise, fair, caring, and trustworthy. Think Plato's philosopher king. To live the Confucian way of life is to be an honorable, responsible, educated person who helps others and contributes to society in a way that will make that society better. Thus, everyone lives harmoniously, peacefully, and abundantly, in the sense that everyone's basic needs in that society are met, and everyone fits into and contributes to that society in the best way that he or she can. Now, the strict morals and rules alone was not what made Chinese, Japanese, and Korean cultures run smoothly. Taoism was the other half of the mix and balanced the demands on that inner and outer society with an inner softness. The more mystical Taoist ideas balanced out the yin-yang of Far Eastern life. I'm sure you've all seen the yin-yang symbol. Raise your hands if you know everybody know what the yin-yang, okay, I figured this is unity. Half of the circle is dark with a little white circle in it, right? The other half of the circle is white with a little dark circle in it. It's like the positive and negative energies of electricity. The negative force in electricity, of course, is not bad. It just balances the positive force to produce power. The dark part of the yin-yang symbol is like Taoism. The light part of the yin-yang circle can be seen as Confucianism. They both contain the other within them, and the circle is only complete with the two influences. Confucianism, like the white part of the circle, is like the yang part. It's a positive force. It's seen as male, bright, sunlight, dry, aggressive, can-do energy, like a majestic mountain. The dark part of the circle is like the yin, the more Taoist part. It's seen as female, dark, passive, moon-like, intuitive, mystical, and creative, like the valley. Together, they represent the balance of life's energies. Now, Taoism was also started by a particular person, Lao Tzu, who wrote the Book of Changes, the Tao Te Ching. The Tao Te Ching's ideas are deceptively simple. They are based on paradoxes and statements that are at the same time contradictory, but true. They kind of remind me of those Zen Buddhist koans, what's the sound of one hand clapping, and what did you look like before your grandmother was born? The Tao Te Ching explains that those who think they know don't, and those who don't know do. Taoism is intuitive and deep. When I feel my righteous indignation rearing up, that's not fair. I feel like I'm channeling my Confucian energy. When I am at peace in prayer and meditation, quietly contemplating the beauty, joy, and mystery of life, I feel like I'm accessing my Taoist nature. Taoists appreciate Mother Nature and learn from it in many ways. In Taoist paintings, you'll always see a mountain and a body of water. If you see humans at all in the painting, and sometimes you have to really look around to find the human behind some tree somewhere, that human is very small, often barely visible, certainly insignificant compared to nature. Taoists aren't about controlling nature and using it, destroying rainforests and polluting rivers with industrial waste. Taoists believe we are all a part of nature and can learn from it and must live in peace with it, much like the American Indians. The prevailing symbol for Taoism is water. Why water? Because water is malleable yet powerful. If something is in its way, it just reroutes. It doesn't shove it out of the way, but it never stops. Nothing in the world is as soft or as weak as water, yet nothing can wear away a mountain and valleys and remain unaltered like water. It's soft, but it overcomes hard. It makes sand of rocks eventually on the beach. There's a Taoist poem called Water and stone, which makes this point very well. It goes like this. What's softest in the world rushes and runs, ever what's hardest in the world. The immaterial enters the impenetrable. So I know the good in not doing, the wordless teaching, the profit in not doing. Not many people understand it. End of poem. Isn't that true? We often just don't understand. Just look around New Orleans. When a hurricane comes, it cracks and breaks some of these mighty oaks, at least their branches, but the reeds of the grass bend with the storm and survive intact. Our egos could learn a lesson or two from Mother Nature. The Taoists don't believe there's anything ultimately to worry about. Even death is only casting off our outer shell. The Taoist believes that each individual spirit has existed from the very beginning of time and will continue hurling through space, changing and evolving through infinity. They believe that we have come into this world to learn things that are important to us as individuals and to achieve a divine purpose. When we come to Earth, we need a shell. We need a body to move around in, like we need a car to get certain places in. But the body is not the true individual. It's only a vessel. When it's time to go on to another reality, the Taoists believe the bodies that have been our vessels are discarded and the spirit goes on, because we cannot wear two sets of clothing at the same time. Taoists believe that animals understand things and are in constant communion with the gods, with the all, with nature. But the gods no longer speak with many humans. And our sorrow and ignorance, our ignorance and vanity, we are the only creatures on earth who live out of communion with the higher levels of reality. Only by living a pure life can we lift this curse from ourselves. The purpose of life for a Taoist is to prepare ourselves for this higher reality, either in this life or the next. At the moment of death, we will cast off our bodies and fearlessly enter into the next cycle. We will then reap what we have sown. So, with the Confucian rules and common sense about how to live well in this society, very well delineated, and with the Taoist appreciation of our oneness with nature and the divine, the oneness of all life, Taoism and Confucianism together balance out the energy of this yin-yang symbol with that little touch of Buddhism. Thus, much of the Far East has for 2,500 years woven itself around Confucian strength, laws, and morals, and around Taoist interflowing with the Tao, or God. In the West, we've taken much from them. Meditation and its calming and psychological benefits, Tai Chi, you've seen, I'm sure, in City Park, people out there doing Tai Chi every weekend with its emphasis on moving around the body's Qi or energy. Feng Shui, for a more balanced moving of that energy through our homes. Healthier foods for healthier bodies. And styles of home decor and clothing with their beauty and colors and flower and nature, like my kimono I wore for you today, and one of my Korean students gave me this, just full of interesting flowers and colors and designs. Even though some Taoists made an institutionalized religion out of Taoism as it went through the 2,500 years in many different countries, and Confucian ideas in the Chinese government created kind of a class system of sorts, their values of morality, inner purity, and being one with all life and all people live on. They live on in each of those people. We can be grateful for their continued influence on millions of people in the world. It's a beautiful way of life. And I think as we talked about some of these, you could clearly see how many unity influences there are that are very parallel to Taoism and Confucianism, which we didn't have time really to get into today, but we will in the coming weeks.